Truth or Dare was supposed to be harmless fun. A silly game to break the ice at our engagement party, surrounded by friends and family. But it turned out to be a ticking time bomb, one that blew up everything we had built together. The party was perfect at first. The decorations were beautiful, the food was divine, and everyone was laughing and celebrating our love. Jake, my fiancé, was glowing with pride, introducing me to his college buddies and distant relatives. I felt on top of the world, basking in the joy of the moment. Then someone, probably one of Jake's overenthusiastic cousins, suggested the game. At first, it was lighthearted and innocent. Questions about embarrassing childhood memories, dares involving silly dance moves or ridiculous accents. The kind of things that make everyone laugh. But as the night wore on and the champagne flowed, the questions became bolder, the dares riskier. Jake's best friend, Matt, leaned back in his chair with a mischievous grin and directed his question at me. Truth or dare, Sophie? I hesitated. All eyes turned to me, the bride-to-be. Truth, I said cautiously. Matt's grin widened. What's the biggest lie you've ever told Jake? The room grew silent. My heart pounded. I felt Jake's eyes on me, a mix of curiosity and amusement. I tried to laugh it off. Oh, come on, Matt. That's too serious for a party. But Matt didn't back down. Hey, it's the rules of the game. You have to answer. I glanced at Jake, whose playful smile encouraged me to go on. So I swallowed hard and decided to be honest, thinking that maybe transparency would make everything okay.
Fine.
The biggest lie I told Jake was that I didn't go out with anyone else during our first few months of dating. The silence was deafening. Jake's expression shifted instantly, from playful to confused, then to something darker. What do you mean? He asked, his voice tight. I tried to explain. It was nothing serious. We weren't exclusive yet, and it didn't mean anything. I didn't think it mattered after we became official. But you lied. He cut in, his tone cold. All this time, you let me believe I was the only one. Why would you keep that from me? The room felt stifling. I could feel everyone's eyes on us, the tension spreading like wildfire. Jake, it wasn't a big deal, I pleaded. I didn't want to hurt you over something so trivial. To me, it is a big deal, he said, standing up. His voice cracked as he added, especially now, on the night we're celebrating spending the rest of our lives together. I reached for his hand, but he pulled away. The hurt in his eyes cut me like a knife. Jake, please. Don't do this here. But it was too late. He took a deep breath, reached into his pocket, and pulled out the engagement ring. I can't do this right now, he said, placing it on the table. Gasps echoed around the room as he walked out. I stood there, frozen, humiliated, and heartbroken, while our guests whispered among themselves. What was supposed to be the happiest night of our lives had turned into a nightmare. All because of one reckless game. The room felt like it was spinning as I stood there, staring at the ring that Jake had left behind. It was a symbol of our future, now abandoned on a table in front of our friends and family. The weight of the situation hit me like a freight train. I had destroyed everything. Our engagement, our trust, our happiness, because of one stupid moment of honesty. My mind raced, trying to understand what had just happened. I could hear whispers, the low murmur of people trying to piece together what had gone wrong. I could feel the sting of their judgment, the awkwardness thick in the air. Sophie, maybe you should go talk to him, one of Jake's cousins, Ellie, suggested gently as she approached me. He's probably just really upset. I nodded numbly, but I didn't move. I couldn't. How could I fix this? How could I make Jake understand that I never meant to hurt him, that the past didn't matter anymore, that all I wanted was to spend my life with him? I could feel the sting of tears in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. This wasn't the time. Not in front of everyone. Not in front of the people who had been there to celebrate us just moments ago. I glanced around the room. Some people were still drinking, some were talking quietly. A few had already begun to leave, clearly uncomfortable with the tension. I felt the heat of embarrassment rising in my chest, the shame of knowing that I had been the cause of this disaster. And then there was Matt. I saw him standing near the door, looking uncomfortable but somehow smug. His grin had faded, but there was still something in his eyes that made my blood boil. He had started this mess. It had been his question, his dare that had set everything off. I wanted to confront him, to scream at him for ruining everything. But part of me knew that if I did, it would only make things worse. Instead, I turned and walked toward the door, determined to find Jake. As I stepped outside, the cool night air hit me, and for a moment, I felt a bit of clarity. I needed to apologize. I needed to make him see that I was still the woman he had fallen in love with. I found Jake near the car, his arms crossed, staring out into the street. His back was stiff, his posture closed off. "Jake," I said softly, walking up to him. He didn't turn to face me. "Jake, please listen." He let out a frustrated sigh and turned to face me, his eyes red, his voice rough. "Why didn't you just tell me, Sophie? Why keep something like that from me? I thought we were building something real." "I thought we were too," I said, tears starting to slip past my defenses. "But I panicked. I didn't want you to think I was still caught up in the past. I wanted everything to be perfect, and now I've ruined it all." Jake's expression softened, just a little. "You didn't ruin it all. But lying to me, hiding things from me, that does damage, Sophie. I trusted you, and now I don't know if I can anymore." I felt my heart breaking at the words. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Jake. I made a mistake, but I love you. I need you to know that. I want this to work. I want us to work." Jake was silent for a long time, his eyes searching mine. Then he took a deep breath. "I need time, Sophie. I can't make any decisions right now. I need to figure this out. I need to think." The words hit me like a punch. Okay, I understand," I whispered, my voice barely audible. He turned away, walking back toward the car, leaving me standing alone in the dark. As I watched him go, I couldn't help but wonder if we would ever be the same again. The sound of Jake's footsteps echoed in the distance, and I stood there, frozen, as the weight of what had just happened settled on me. The engagement party was over, but the damage had only just begun. I had made a choice to be honest, but now, the truth felt like a double-edged sword, one that had cut through everything I held dear. I watched Jake's figure disappear into the night, feeling more alone than I ever had. My heart ached for him, for us, for what we had lost in those moments. I didn't want him to walk away. I wanted him to come back and tell me it was all just a misunderstanding. But deep down, I knew it wasn't that simple. He needed time. Time to heal, time to decide if he could ever trust me again. I pulled my phone out of my pocket and stared at the screen. There were messages from friends, family, people who were once celebrating with us, but they all felt distant now, like echoes from another life. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want to hear their pity or their sympathy. I just wanted Jake back. But I knew that if I really wanted to fix this, I had to let him breathe. I had to give him the space he needed, even if it felt like it was tearing me apart. I turned around and walked back into the house, my footsteps heavy. The living room was now quiet, the laughter and chatter replaced by an eerie silence. People were gathered in small groups, whispering behind their hands, some shooting me awkward glances as I passed. I could feel the judgment in their eyes, the unspoken questions of whether Jake and I were going to make it after all. Ellie approached me again, this time her expression more serious, more sympathetic. "Sophie, I'm so sorry. I know this is a lot. But you need to talk to him. You need to fix this if you can. We're all pulling for you." Her words, though kind, felt like a slap in the face. I wasn't sure I could fix it. I didn't know if there was a way back from this. "I don't know if I can," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "He's so hurt. I've lost his trust, Ellie. And I don't know if I can get it back." Ellie placed a hand on my shoulder, her eyes soft with understanding. "You have to try. I can't tell you how, but you need to. Don't give up on him yet." I nodded, though doubt gnawed at me. How could I make him believe me again? How could I undo the damage of that single truth? As the night wore on and the guests slowly filtered out, I sat alone in the living room, staring at the engagement ring Jake had left behind. It sparkled in the dim light, taunting me, reminding me of everything I had lost. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I kept replaying the events over and over in my mind, wondering what I could have said differently, what I could have done to prevent this. But no matter how many times I went through it, the truth remained. I had lied, and I had broken something that had once seemed unbreakable. The next morning, I woke up with a sense of dread, not knowing what the day would bring. I sent Jake a message, asking if he was okay, telling him I was ready to talk whenever he was. But the message remained unread for hours, and my heart sank each time I checked my phone. It wasn't until late afternoon that I received a reply. "I need more time, Sophie. I'm not ready to talk yet. Please respect that." His words were a punch to the gut, but I understood. I couldn't force him to talk to me. I had to respect his space, no matter how much it hurt. I spent the day trying to distract myself, picking up the pieces of the party, cleaning up the mess, pretending like everything was fine. But it wasn't fine. My engagement, my future, was hanging by a thread, and I had no idea if I could weave it back together. The days turned into weeks, and Jake's silence stretched on. I gave him space, but every day felt like I was drowning in uncertainty. There were moments when I would get a flicker of hope, an accidental glance at a photo of us together, a memory of better times, but then the reality would hit me again. The distance between us had grown wider, and I was still on the other side, unable to reach him. I still loved him with all my heart, but I didn't know if that would be enough to fix what I had broken. Days blurred together, and the silence between Jake and me grew louder. I spent each moment trying to piece myself back together, but without Jake, it felt impossible. Our home, once full of laughter and dreams of a future together, now felt like an empty shell, haunted by the echoes of what used to be. I kept busy, doing everything I could to avoid being alone with my thoughts. I went to work, spent time with friends who were sympathetic but kept their distance, and tried to keep up appearances. But every night, when I was alone, my mind would spiral back to Jake. Was he thinking about me? Was he regretting his decision? Was there a way back for us? The hardest part was seeing the engagement ring sitting in the drawer, untouched. I'd look at it, remembering the way Jake had looked at me when he put it on my finger. It was supposed to be a promise, a symbol of a lifetime together. Now, it was just a painful reminder of everything I had lost. I tried calling him a few times, but each call went straight to voicemail. His responses to my texts were brief, almost robotic. "I'm not ready. We need space. I'll reach out when I'm ready to talk." I felt powerless, like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, reaching for him but unable to get close enough. Then one evening, I received a message from him that was different. "I'm coming over tomorrow. We need to talk." The words hit me like a rush of adrenaline. He was finally ready to talk. My heart pounded, my hands trembling as I quickly typed back, "Okay. I'll be here." That night, I hardly slept. I ran through everything I wanted to say, trying to make sense of the mess I had created. But when the morning came, my mind felt blank. What could I say to make him understand? What could I do to make him trust me again? The doorbell rang just before noon. I opened the door to find Jake standing there, his face tired, his eyes still holding a trace of the hurt that had lingered since that night. He wasn't wearing the engagement ring. "I didn't know if you wanted me to wear it," he said softly, his gaze never fully meeting mine. "I didn't want to make this harder." I swallowed, fighting the lump in my throat. "You don't have to wear it. It's okay." He nodded, stepping inside. The space between us felt charged, heavy with all the things we had left unsaid. I could feel the distance, and I knew that even though he was here, it wasn't going to be easy. "I've been thinking a lot," Jake began, sitting down on the couch. "About what happened. About what you said and what I did." I sat across from him, my hands in my lap, trying to calm my racing heart. "I've been thinking too," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I made a huge mistake, Jake. I hurt you, and I'm so sorry. I never meant to lie to you. I thought I was protecting us, but all I did was push you away." He ran a hand through his hair, clearly frustrated, but I could see that he was listening. "I get that. I really do. But the thing is, I didn't just feel hurt. I felt like you didn't trust me enough to tell me the truth. And that's what really stung." I thought we were building something together, Sophie. I thought we could be open with each other about anything. And when you hid something like that from me, it made me question everything. It made me wonder if you were still keeping things from me. If I could ever trust you again. His words hit me hard. I could hear the pain in his voice, and it made me ache in ways I hadn't expected. I understand, I said quietly. And I don't blame you for being hurt. I made a mistake, and I have to live with that. But I want to be better. I want to rebuild your trust. I don't want to lose you. I love you, Jake. I don't want to let this ruin us. Jake was silent for a long moment, his gaze fixed on the floor as he processed everything. Then, finally, he looked up at me, his eyes softening just a little. I don't know if I can just forget about it. I don't know if I can just turn off how hurt I feel. But I'm willing to try. I need time, Sophie. I need to see that you're serious about this. That you're committed to us. Tears welled up in my eyes, and I nodded. I'm committed. I promise you, Jake. I'll do whatever it takes. I don't want to lose you. There was a long pause, and for a moment I thought he might leave. But then, slowly, he stood up and walked over to me. He didn't say anything at first. He just pulled me into an embrace, holding me close. I could feel the warmth of his body, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I let myself hope. We'll figure this out, he said softly, his voice thick with emotion. But it's going to take time. And I'm not making any promises right now. But I'm willing to try. I closed my eyes, clinging to the hope that maybe, just maybe, there was a way back from this. It wasn't going to be easy. It wasn't going to be quick. But if we both worked at it, if we were both willing to fight for each other, we could rebuild. And that was enough for now.